And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome here to race number 13 of Season 9 of the NNSCRA Mobil1 Cup Series. We are here live from Watkins Glen International Raceway here in New York as we get ready here for a 14-lap road course race and with a possible chase spot on the line, because after this race we've only got 2 more stops, including the regular season finale at Arizona Speedway. These drivers going to try and use the twists and turns of this road course to get themselves a spot in this season's chase for the championship. Now, right now, we have the 10 drivers that are going to get in via top 10 in points, and then we have the 2 wildcard drivers. Now, right now, it's looking like Dylan Young is in line to get the wildcard spot number 1. However, there are a number of drivers ahead of him in the point stands that are outside the top 10 in points, that if they can get a second win here today, that puts Dylan Young in a rather precarious position. That would then move him down to wildcard spot number 2, unless Dylan Young can pull off a third victory here today at the Glen. But we got 30 seconds left till the command to fire the engines. We're going to show you now your qualifying results from today's race. James McLeod and James Qualls will start on the front row. Neither one of them have been to victory lane yet this year. McLeod comes in 23rd in points. Qualls comes into this race 34th in points. Both really could use a win to get them a wild card position. And there's the rest of your starting lineup for today's race. Let's get the command.
Drivers, start your engines.
And I don't know if you noticed, but in that starting lineup, points leader Kyle Corbett, starting 41st here today, comes in with only a 5-point advantage over Lewis Stevens in the standings, and then only 6 points over Gene Sanford. Alex May is also within striking distance. He's only 13 points back. And then Chris Washer is 5th in the point standings. 2-time winner, a guy who Dylan Young definitely does not want to fall outside of the top 10 in points. Trent Dunham, Sean Galligan, Austin LaPlante, Cody Lamas, and Austin Mongold. That is the top 10. You take a look at the neat little camera view that we have here of the cars coming through the S's. This is a very treacherous portion of racetrack. A lot of portions of this track are very difficult to maneuver. As a matter of fact, we're coming to one of the most difficult ones to maneuver in just a moment. The dreaded dog leg turn. And I did consider making this a no caution flag race. I did strongly consider that because this is a particular track, Watkins Glen, that they, for some reason, a lot of them really overdrive the dog leg, and then it immediately brings out a caution. But I thought, you know what, no, we're not going to do it that way. We are going to have cautions on. I'll add a couple more laps onto the scheduled amount of laps for today, and we'll see what happens. So, caution flags will be on, although I can tell you, I don't know if this race is going to be uploaded before or after, but the Snickers Cup Series 3 division races, they are going to be run here at the Glen caution free. So whether this video comes out before or after, well, if it comes out after, you'll already have known that. If it comes out before, well, then you'll know for when that race does come out. So right now, the drivers that really could use a second win that are outside the top 10 in points: Ty Dent, 12th in points, Danny Wells, 13th, Jacob Lawler, 17th, Connor Breton, 22nd, Chris Maley, 28th, Joshua Collard, 31st, and then you go down to the 2-time winner Dylan Young in 38th place. So, yeah, Dylan Young, right now, to basically assure himself a guaranteed spot in this season's chase, he really needs to get a third win, or hope that none of the other drivers that have gone to victory lane yet this season that are outside the top 10 in points get into victory lane for a second time. Otherwise, he's in trouble. And then if that happens and then Chris Washer drops outside the top 10 in points, Dylan Young, regardless of his 2 wins, he would be in a lot of trouble and seriously in jeopardy of not making the chase. Right now, Kyle Corbett, coming into today's race, is 38 points ahead of 10th in the standings, Austin Mongold. That amount of distance can be made up in one race. So Kyle Corbett, Lewis Stevens, Gene Sanford, they have not yet confirmed themselves a spot in this season's chase to the championship via top 10 in points. Yeah, I think that's really going to come down to the season finale at Arizona for it to basically be confirmed for the drivers in the top 10 in points, unless something dramatic happens here today at the Glen that separates the points out. But we're going to find out what's going to happen here. James McLeod, James Qualls, both looking for their first win of the season. They may get it here today at the Glen. We'll find out. Green flag is out. We're underway. Boy, James McLeod was ready for that green. He immediately moves into the lead. Oh, whoa, almost some contact back there for second. Nick Smith and James Qualls. Did they make contact? Oh, no, they didn't. They're still good. They're still all good for the moment. McLeod is gone, so we're going to follow this battle here for second. Nick Smith's going to take it away from Qualls. And now here comes Momo Akari. Whoa, getting a little bit on the rumble strips there with the 42. And now comes the treacherous part. Here we go, through the dogleg. Momo Akari took that awfully wide. Everybody going to get through it okay? Looks like everybody did. I'm shocked. I thought they were going to wreck, but they didn't. Man, I am really shocked. James McLeod is the leader. Nick Smith into second. Qualls, Danny Wells, and now Clay Rogers is into the top 5 as McLeod will come out of the final corner and he'll come down and complete the first lap of the day. Maybe I didn't have to add on more laps for cautions. Maybe we might run this thing caution-free. I don't think pit stops are going to come into play. I don't think 14 laps is enough time for those fuel tanks to run out, so it's basically going to come down to who has the fastest car. As Nick Smith's into second, the battle for third was going on. Danny Wells just took away the spot from James Qualls. Clay Rogers now going to take fourth. Qualls now back to fifth. Then you got Momo Akari under fire from Ricky Falcon. Kyle Matthews right there along with Sean Henley. As you can see them slide through the corner. A number of drivers hitting the grass as they exit. There's Alex May moving by TJ Dent. Ty Dent right there as well, trying to move by younger brother. Sean Galligan there as well in the 64. Joshua Collard. Up ahead, Austin Mongold, who things have really been falling apart for him lately. Last week, he finished over 20 seconds behind race winner Dylan Young. And he has dropped all the way down to 10th in points. This is a guy who was leading the point standings earlier on this season. So right now, running in the 10th position, trying to just get back on track as he's trying to make his first chase of his career in his rookie season. Tell you what, Nick Smith, he's been doing a pretty good job of keeping James McLeod at least within striking distance. And I don't know if that 3 car is any faster than the 51, but last time by it was about 1.2 seconds that McLeod had the advantage over Nick Smith. We'll see what the advantage is this time. However, it looks like Danny Wells may be beginning to reel in Nick Smith for the second position as well. So, the question is, will we have a battle for the lead or a battle for second in a couple of laps? It looks like, visibly to me, Nick Smith is closing in. But we'll see when they hit the stripe here, if indeed that is the case. McLeod hits the line now, Nick Smith hits it, and the gap is going to be 1.14, so we cut it down by about 6/100ths. Still plenty of time to be able to reel in McLeod. Of course, catching him's one thing, passing's him another. Now though, McLeod trying to go to victory lane for Turner Motorsports. For the first time this season, the only other one, or actually 2, that have done that for Turner Motorsports this season. Alex May doing it at Talladega, and then Dylan Young, of course, winning at both Richmond and last week. Oh, caution flags out. Caution for the first time today. Comes out here on lap 4. That was actually quite good. That was a good green flag run. I'm really impressed that these guys didn't have a caution flag on the first lap, and instead it comes out here on the 4th lap of the race. About to come and complete it is James McLeod. So now that advantage he had over Nick Smith, it's gone. Now let's see if Nick Smith was running him down here this lap. Last time by was 1.14. This time by, 0.85. What do you think? So let's see who exactly was the cause of this yellow flag. Oh, William Bedford. Man. Oh, and Connor Breton as well. Connor Breton, our winner from Open Roads. William Bedford in the 4. Bedford, who actually had been really doing well the last couple of weeks. And, oh, Anthony McCrory's outie. Badly mangled up. He's headed to pit road. His day obviously over. Man, it's been a tough season for that 61 team. 36th in points, and can't buy a break here at a track that I'm sure he was excited to come to. Anthony McCrory, known for his road course racing style. David Rivera, Matthew Dalio back here, but I don't really think they got involved in anything. And look at right there. I told you these S's are treacherous, and that's where the wreck apparently took place. You can see the skid marks. So the caution flag is out for the first time here at Watkins Glen. James McLeod is your current leader. Looks like we had a 3-car incident. Let's take a look at a replay of what happened. Now, just some hard racing for a spot inside the top 20. Bedford had it. Breton wanted it. And it looks like Bedford didn't realize Connor Breton was to his right side. He came down into him, and then they turned down off the rumble strips into the steel guardrail, then to the other side and hit the steel guardrail, both of them at the same time. That's driver's side. Carson Gum, oh my goodness, he just barely avoided. So did Bob Jones, Jessica Shelton, Lewis Stevens, and then watch Anthony McCrory right here. Thought he was clear. That was right in front of Henry Sanford, too. I don't know if Henry gets a piece of that. Oh, he did. Henry was involved in the 94 and right in front of Dylan Poteet as well. Dylan Poteet just trying to work his way into the top 10 in points, nearly was collected in that one. Dylan Thoreau right back behind this as well. So was Chris Washer, Gene Sanford. A lot of drivers running well in points were back behind that incident, and fortunately were able to get through. But there you see it, the damage on Henry Sanford, Anthony McCrory, William Bedford, and Connor Breton in the background there. And so a 4-car incident. Exiting the S's is what put this under the yellow flag for the first time here today at the Glen. The lights are out atop the pace car as they exited out of the dogleg chute. We will go back green on lap 7 of 14, giving us 8 laps to go here today at the Glen. James McLeod is your current leader. Second place is Nick Smith. Third, Danny Wells. Fourth, Clay Rogers. James Qualls is back in 5th. Momo Kari is in 6th. Ricky Falcon runs in 7th. 8th place is Kyle Matthews. 9th, Sean Henley. And completing the top 10 is Alex May. Let's go a little bit further back. 11th place will be Austin Mongold. TJ Dent in 12th. 13th place is Ty Dent. Dylan Young in 14th. 15th is Sean Galligan. Joshua Collard 16th. James Silverfox 17th. 18th, Charles Jackson. 19th, Austin LaPlante. And Jacob Lawler completes the top 20. 21st is Trent Dunham. 22nd, Carson Gum. Jessica Shelton 23rd. Bob Jones 24th. And 25th is Lewis Stevens. Then it'll be Cody Lamas in 26th. 27th is Dylan Thoreau. Chris Washer runs 28th. 29th, Steve Pollard. And Chris Maley is the top 30. Gene Sanford 31st. Dylan Poteet 32nd. 33rd, Daniel Gilbert. Jeff Fair in 34th. 35th is Kyle Corbett. Chris Louvier is 36th. 37th, Matthew Dalio. 38th, David Rivera. And 39th is Henry Sanford. They made repairs to his car. He's back on track. 40th, 41st, and 42nd. Pretty obvious who they are. Anthony McCrory, Connor Breton, and William Bedford all out of the race. Not necessarily in that order. Breton gets 40th. Bedford will get 41st. And McCrory gets 42nd. Green flag back out. Here at the Glen, Nick Smith right there, and he'll jump to the inside immediately on McLeod for the lead. Danny Wells right there, almost thought about maybe making it 3 wide. He is there. Where's Danny going to go? He's pushing Nick Smith. Oh, careful there, guys. Man. That was crazy on the restart. Now McLeod, I think he may have just lost the lead to Nick Smith. He did. Nick Smith now into the lead. Clay Rogers going to look for second. Sliding through the dog leg they go, and now Nick Smith leads the way here at the Glen. McLeod back to second. Third, Clay Rogers. Now a battle for fourth. James Qualls gets to the inside of Danny Wells. Danny Wells will have the advantage in the turn coming up this One's a left-hander. Let's see what Qualls can do. Can he hang with him on the outside line? Looks like he did, and well, here he is. He's got the advantage at least this turn. Wow, almost some contact between the two of them off that corner. And now Qualls is going to lose that spot. He will drop back to the 5th position. Nick Smith out in front. Was a 2-time winner last season. Looking for his 3rd career Mobil1 Cup Series victory. He comes into this race 11th in the point standings too, so think of what a win would do for this guy to get him into the top 10 in points. Not only that, but maybe put him in a wild card position if the next couple of races don't go quite so well for that number 3 team. But this ain't over. James McLeod is right there within striking distance, and he's got a little bit more of a gap between himself and Clay Rogers than Nick Smith has between himself and McLeod. So, oh, but wait a minute. Nick Smith's not going to like that. The caution flag's back out again. And that means that on the restart, James McLeod will be right on his back bumper, just like Nick Smith was on McLeod's back bumper in this most recent restart. So the yellow flag for the 2nd time here today at Watkins Glen. And Nick Smith will be the one to lead us under this caution over McLeod, Clay Rogers, Danny Wells, and James Qualls. There's the yellow. I saw a gap back from Austin Mongold on back, and I'm wondering if maybe, yeah, Sean Henley is missing from the top 10. I wonder if the 69 got involved in something. Sean Galligan way back here. So is Matthew Dallio. I saw some damage. I thought it was to the rear of Chris Maley's discount tire Ford. Look carefully. Yep, he's got damage. And there's Henley. Henley, Sower, Fox, they've got some damage. So, and I think there might be some rear end damage to Dylan Poteet. Henley was inside the top 10. And I think this incident may have very well started with him because of the drivers I see that are damaged or running near the back. He is the one that was running the closest to the front. So we'll see what happened to Sean and a number of others here. Oh, Kyle Matthews is also on the pit road. I'll bet you there was contact between Kyle Matthews and Sean Henley. They were both just inside the top 10 last time around. So Nick Smith will be the leader under this caution. When we come back, it'll be a shootout to finish out this race. Let's take a look at a replay, though, of what puts under the caution for the 2nd time here today at Watkins Glen. Well, Kyle Matthews, running in the 8th position, actually does what I was expecting to see a lot of on the very first lap. Look right there how he so overdrove the dog leg. And then he's going to try and make his way back onto the track, and he's going to hit the tire barrier right there. That shoots him right back up the racetrack. Alex May going to get a piece of that. Sean Henley nowhere to go. Oh, and then behind them, Silver Fox and Galligan got together, and they get into the tire barriers. And I don't know how Dylan Poteet, Chris Maley, and all of them are going to come into play in this, but we're going to find out in just a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Silver Fox trying to turn around. Back there, Dylan Poteet ran to the back of Dylan Thoreau. Gene Sanford got into the back of him. Louvier goes down, hits the steel guardrail, but then where's the 22? Was there something else that happened? Oh, wow, yeah, something here with Dallio, David Rivera, and Chris Maley. Were their teammates getting together, maybe? Alright, let's look here at the 22. 22 just really overdrove it, and actually the car goes spinning. And then, same deal for his teammate and David Rivera. They just went, they lost it. They locked up the brakes, and all three of them slid. Maley slid the furthest. That's how he got into the tire barriers. Matthew Dallio and David Rivera, though, I think both were able to not hit anything. Boy. And then Kyle Corbett kind of gets forced into the steel guardrail there by his teammate Louvier. That causes Louvier to spin again. Boy, that was a lot of stuff that happened there through that dog leg. And the only thing I can possibly think of is the reason that that's happening now is we've run about 8 laps at that point on these Goodyear Eagles. And if they were worn out, that holds, that, you know, there's not much grip then. And I'm wondering if that's maybe why we saw so much trouble with Matthews as well as with Maley and Matthew Dowley and David Rivera locking up the brakes there in that dogleg turn. But a number of drivers, as a result, they are damaged, and 3 of them were running in the top 10 at the time. Alex May, as well as Sean Henley, and the car that we saw initially start the caution, Kyle Matthews. So, boy, tough break there for a number of drivers who were en route to a good run. Green flag's about to come back out here on lap 11 of 14. That will give us a total of 4 laps to go here at Watkins Glen. Our first 4 laps of the race were run under green flag conditions. Can the last 4 be run under the green flag? We'll find out. Top 10 as we get ready to go back to green. Nick Smith's your leader. James McLeod second. Clay Rogers up here in third. Fourth is Danny Wells. James Qualls runs fifth. Rest of the top 10 are Momo Akari, Ricky Falcon, Austin Mongold, Dylan Young, and Alex May. Despite getting that damage, he is still running in the 10th position, but he does have damage on the right side of his machine. I don't know how significant it is, but we'll see if that might cause any problems for the 32 starting up inside of the top 10. Drivers out after the incident we just saw. Sean Galligan has taken his car behind the wall. He'll finish in 38th, and the car that initially started the caution, Kyle Matthews, is also out of the race. He finishes in the 39th position. Matthew Dallio, David Rivera, Chris Maley, Chris Louvier, Kyle Corbett, Dylan Poteet, and a number of others. They came to pit road, repaired their damage. They're running at the tail end of this long line, but they are at least still in the race. Pace car peels off. Now, Nick Smith was able to get a jump on McLeod on the last restart. Will McLeod be able to do a vice versa on the 3? We're going to find out. Flagman ready, here we go. Green flag is back out. McLeod jumps to the left side. Now will he dart out to the right heading into this corner? No, so far remains behind Nick Smith. And Nick actually got through that first right-hander a lot better than McLeod did. McLeod could be just planning to set him up though, but remember, if the caution flag waves, I don't know if we'll be able to get back to green or not. It all depends on if and when it happens. Forgot to bring the ticker up here, I apologize. Oh, there's a caution. Okay, so my calculations are right. We will go green on the white flag lap. Man, look at this back here. Danny Wells, James Qualls. Wells going through the grass to get by James Qualls, and he will do it. So with the yellow flag out again, this means I think that we would get back green flag racing, at least on the white flag lap. Maybe a green-white checker. But Nick Smith, I'll bet he hated seeing those yellow lights come on, because look at the gap he had between himself and James McLeod. But the caution flag is out one more time here at Watkins Glen. Maybe it was a good thing I added those extra laps on to today's event. Now let's see who was involved in this one. Oh, Daniel Gilbert in the 25. Oh, Carson Gum. Looks like something might have happened to him off the final corner. Slowly creeping his way down the front straightaway, car erupting in smoke. Steve Pollard. Did he just make a pit stop? He might have spun down pit road. Oh, wow, there's damage also on Bob Jones' machine. Look at that. Austin LaPlante, also a lot of damage on his Ford EcoBoost. Ford Mustang. Jacob Lawler. Damage on the AC Delco Chevy Camaro. So, boy, where this started, I'm not sure. But it throws a whole new light on the possible outcome of this race. Caution waving for the 3rd time here at the Glen. Let's take a look and see what happened. Well, it looks like Gene Sanford was trying to get out of people's way. Or not. Comes down right across the nose of Daniel Gilbert, and both of them, wow, what a shot into that guardrail. It's a good thing they didn't hit on that corner. That would have really been scary. And then everybody, you see Chris Maley slamming on the brakes there. James Silverfox, though, says, hey, I'm just going to pick up these spots, and he drives right through it. Louvier does the same, David Rivera. That is what brought the caution flag out. Now, that doesn't mean that that's the end of everything that happened. Something's going to happen with Lawler and Carson Gum and Austin LaPlante. And I think it might happen maybe up here in this dog leg. There you see, going through here, they're 3 wide. Trent Dunham and Austin LaPlante literally rubbing doors. And do they end up getting together off this corner? Is this what causes the whole incident? For LaPlante. Gets shoved off the corner. Carson Gum to his outside. Nope, that's not the incident. So it must be up here out of the final corner. So let's see what happens here. Because you see there's Jacob Lawler there as well. Carson Gum and Austin LaPlante. All 3 that we know were damaged. So off this corner, what exactly happens? Oh, Lawler, I think, might hook LaPlante. Yep, in the right rear, down into Carson Gum. Now look at the shot. Carson, oh my goodness. Oh, Jessica Shelton got a piece of it. She gets into the inside wall with Lawler. Lewis Stevens also might have gotten a slight piece of it. And then I think Bob Jones ran into the back of Austin LaPlante. Steve Pollard might have gotten a piece of it too. Let's rewind it, just get a different camera angle here to see if we can see everybody that was involved in that. Man, that's a hard shot there for Carson Gum. Oh, here's a good shot. Nice spectator view of this. There's Lawler. Gets turned into Jessica Shelton. And then they're going to get into the wall right there. Lewis Stevens, I think, did get a piece of it. Here's Bob Jones. Tries to woe up, can't do it. Gets into the back of LaPlante. Steve Pollard right there, hits head on into Carson Gum's Mobil1 Toyota. And then I thought there was one other driver that got involved. There's Corbett, there's Pote, there's Henry Sanford. No, I guess not. Boy, we've had incidents at every portion of this racetrack. We've had it in the S's, we've had it exiting the S's, we've had it in the dog leg, and now we've had it on the front straightaway coming out of the final turn. But that was a hard impact for Carson Gum. It's good to see him driving away from that incident because that was head on into the steel guardrail there. But that is what puts us under the caution once again. Let's head back, see how many laps we're going to have left to finish out today's race at Watkins Glen. Well, if I'm not mistaken, we will be going back to green flag racing. Well, maybe I am mistaken. I thought we were going to get going back to green flag racing, but the lights are still on atop the pace car. And when we come around this next time, the white flag will be displayed, which means, if I'm not mistaken, this race is going to end under yellow. I thought with the earliness of the caution flag coming out, that we were going to be able to get back to green flag racing, at least for a one-lap shootout. But with the indication that the lights are still on, that means to me that this race is going to end under yellow. And as a result, Nick Smith is going to win this race. It'll be his 3rd career win, his 1st of the season. This is huge for Nick as well, as I mentioned earlier. Comes in 11th in the point standings. This will move him up into the top 10 in points for sure, especially with the hard luck we've seen certain drivers have, such as Sean Galligan and Austin LaPlante. So this next time around will be the white flag. Speaking of the drivers involved, Steve Pollard, Carson Gum, and Daniel Gilbert all took their cars back behind the wall. So it's looking very much like here it's going to be this race ending under the yellow flag. White flag is about to be displayed now along with the caution flag. And they will go around at 40 miles per hour one more time around Watkins Glen International Raceway, and then Nick Smith will be coming around to receive his first checkered flag of the season here in the Mobil1 Cup Series. James McLeod putting up quite a fight, but not able to get by Nick Smith when it counted. He'll finish 2nd. Clay Rogers will be 3rd. 4th, Danny Wells. 5th, James Qualls. 6th, Momo Akari. Then it'll be Ricky Falcon, Austin Mongold able to finish back in the top 10 again. Dylan Young and TJ Dent will complete the top 10. Now that's barring any other potential problems that could happen. You look at this from a championship standpoint, and there are some really well-needed runs that just took place here today in that top 10. We talked about Nick Smith, but also how about Danny Wells? Former winner this season, 13th in the point standings. This will maybe move him into the top 10 in points. Mobil1 comes into this race 16th in the standings. Hasn't gone to victory lane yet, so she's relying on getting to the top 10 in points, it would seem. And 6th place run, that could definitely help her in that quest. And Austin Mongold, as I mentioned too, last couple of weeks have really been heartbreak finishes for that 16 team. He fell all the way down from the points lead to 10th here coming into this race. This 8th place run will help give him a little bit of security, I think, heading into next week, as he will more than likely still remain in the top 10 in points, maybe with a little bit of a cushion now between himself and the 10th position in points. Dylan Young. Now remember, we talked about the whole thing about Dylan Young. To get that wild card spot, he doesn't need anybody else that's got to win this season to go to victory lane again. Now Nick Smith hasn't been to victory lane this season, so right now Dylan Young is still in the first wild card position. But the fact that he finished in 9th place, I mean, if this guy can move himself up through the point standings enough and get himself maybe up into the top 25 or something, then he might have a very good chance of not even having to worry if another driver goes to victory lane this season. I mean, if he can move himself up through the point standings, he's got a much better chance of those 2 wins getting him that wild card position in this season's chase for the championship. Well, this race will be over in just a moment. Just to give you guys a little bit of an overview on what to expect for the next couple races. Next week, we end up going to the high banks of Coca-Cola Speedway for Super Speedway racing. We'll see who's going to be the king of that course. And then, of course, the regular season finale, as it has in the last couple of seasons, will be finishing off at Arizona Speedway, a track very similar to Kansas and Chicagoland. I think it's a 1.5 mile racetrack. It might be a 2 mile racetrack. I don't remember. But always brings about great racing. And after that, we'll be setting our field for this season's chase for the championship. 12 drivers, 10 that finish in the top 10 in points, 2 with wild card positions. And you might be looking right now at a future chaser for this season in Nick Smith. He went to victory lane twice last season. This season, it took him till race 13 to pick up his first checkered flag of season 9, but it'll come here today at the road course of Watkins Glen. Pace car going to lead the field across the line, but Nick Smith will lead them all as he will capture the win here today at Watkins Glen. Standings should be official as soon as the entire field crosses the line. Lights went out on the pace car for a moment there. I'm not exactly sure why. And as the field will cross the line, standings will be official in just a moment. But basically, well, there we go. Official standings. There you go. And there's a look at your official results, at least here for down through the top 28. Trent Dunham, 6th in points. A great run of 14th. Alex May, 4th in points, finishes in 11th. Ty Dent, 12th in the standings. He'll probably move into the top 10 once again, as he finished 13th here today. Chris Washer, 5th in points, finishes in 16th. And Lewis Stevens was trying to run down Kyle Corbett for the points lead today. Well, he ended up finishing the day out in the 19th position. But I'm trying to look here. Alex May was 8 points behind him, and Alex May actually finished 8 spots ahead of Lewis Stevens. So it may end up being a tie for the points lead between Stevens and May after today's race. Wow, that would be interesting. Look further down at some of the drivers that came in running well in points that didn't have the best of results. Look down, you see Kyle Corbett 23rd. Wait a minute though. Let's see. Lewis Stevens came 5 points back from Corbett. Corbett finished only 4 spots behind Lewis Stevens, so Corbett actually is going to keep the points lead. I think he's going to keep the points lead by 1 point over Lewis Stevens, who I think then is going to be at a tie for 2nd with Alex May. So man, it just keeps getting better and better As the regular season comes to a close, Austin LaPlante 27th today. Tough break for him. Gene Sanford caught up in about 2 or 3 different incidents. 33rd today for the driver that came in 3rd in points. And then, of course, the heartbreak for Sean Galligan, 7th in the point standings coming into this race and out of the race in the 38th position. So what will the point standings look like heading into next week at Coca-Cola? Well, I basically gave you an overview of what the top 3 will look like. Kyle Corbett by 1 point over a 2-way tie for 2nd between Lewis Stevens and Alex May. If I'm wrong, well, you'll find out at the end of this video with the official point standings. But the big topic is Nick Smith going to victory lane for the first time here in Season 9, winning here today at Watkins Glen. You've seen your official finish results. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's race from the Glen, be sure to give this video a like. Subscribe to become part of the crew today. Here come your official point stands and rookie points heading next week at Coca-Cola. The chase to the chase continues here on the NNSCRA Sports Channel. Offline racing at its best.